This video is in response to a special request. So I was asked if I could make a video that talked more about how to paint in an Impressionist style with looser brushstrokes. And I've been pondering that request a little bit, and I thought I could do that and kind of tie in everything. So I could tie in the Impressionist style, I could tie in Alla Prima painting, and I could tie in freehand painting, because I think they're all related in my case because I developed all these things at the same time. So the first thing I'll do for this video is I want to just define Alla Prima and Impressionism. So Alla Prima is just direct painting. It's wet on wet painting. Really what it means is it's all in one session. Impressionism is light and color depiction. It's really all in the name. It's the impression of light that a person gets from a scene. So the way I approach all of these videos is the same way I approach painting, which is a free-flowing, just kind of diving in. It's not scripted, so there are a couple of key moments in this video, though, that I am going to interrupt whatever thought is on my mind, because it's important to point out a specific section. So I will stop myself when I come to those moments. So the first thing that you might notice with this painting is I already had some scrubbed off image at the beginning. That's because I completely messed up when I started. You know, I mentioned freehand painting. I don't measure or do any proportional checking or anything. I just try to do it ad lib, just dive in. And so there's a cost to some of that. Sometimes I don't get something right, and in this case I did the head too big and it didn't make sense. I wasn't able to get anything else that I wanted to do for this subject, so I had to start over. So I want to add a caveat to this video as well. So I'm talking about my approach, and this is developed over about 230-ish oil paintings, but I have to say I don't have any formal training, so the question is always, have I developed along a good path? The answer is, I have no idea, so take everything with a grain of salt. So early on in this painting, I think you can already kind of see how my approach aligns with Impressionism. So what I mean is the blocking in that I do early in the painting and all the way through the piece, you can kind of see like there's a value and different hue, these color shapes that I seek on the page. And sometimes I start dark, sometimes I start light, but I just start mixing. I start blending on my palette. I find a spot somewhere that has that color, that exact lightness, darkness, kind of mixed color. I find that, and then I kind of hunt and peck across the canvas and look for other similar colors. I would really almost liken this to a paint by number in a sense. I mean, it's kind of not, because I have to do my own outline of the subject, but it kind of is as well, because I'm just looking for the number, like here's my combo number 7. I'm looking for combo number 7 on the paper. It's obviously doesn't have numbers on it, but I'm trying to judge that exact shape, hue, value, and just find it everywhere. And I just hunt and peck and find it and piece it in that way, and I keep blending up different colors and keep hunting. That's how I approach these things, color by number. So I'll take a pause here because something specific that I want to point out is the shoulder on this subject. You can start to see some of this crystallize, and you'll see it in a little bit on this painting video as well. This is an example, that shoulder right there on the bottom left part of the page, which is the subject's right shoulder. You can see how that color shape, that blocking in of colors is taking form. You can see it on the face too, but I feel like you can really see it well on the shoulder. You can see how there's yellows in the center, there's bright white in the middle, there's some blue mixes kind of in the periphery. There's a little red in there to give it some additional kind of interesting colors as well. And as I build that, and I keep blocking in and I keep adding those color shapes, you really start to get a sense of depth, and you start to get kind of a 3D picture almost. And I think this is the true, this is truly how the kind of Alla Prima and Impressionism, how these approaches, this blocking in, how it all comes together and solidifies into that style. And it gives you shape and it gives you form to what you're painting. And I know this, maybe it sounds like kind of fancy painting talk or whatever. I don't know. And I don't even know, frankly, if I'm using all the terms right or not. I'm not really sure. But it makes sense when you dive in and you start doing it over and over again. You start to see in action how those things are true. And like at this point in the video, I'm coming back to the shoulder again to talk about it, but I've added even more, and I see even more depth in the shoulder now. I can kind of get a sense of where it is in 3 dimensions now from what I see. And this is another pause point in the video I want to mention. I was very happy with the way the subject was, and to be totally honest with you, I was afraid to move forward with this painting. I felt like the subject popped off the page with that blank background. I honestly, I feel like it was one of the better portrait, like basic portrait subjects that I've done. And so I was truly afraid to add the background and do more to this. Really what stopped me though was, I almost did stop, but what made me keep going is that I was thinking about wasted potential. And I had the thought, man, if I feel happy about the subject, what if I do the background right too? And then it ends up being like the best painting I've ever done, or at least from my view, the best painting. So, I was scared to mess it up. That's something I've done before. I've messed up what I thought was a good painting by totally messing up the background. So I have a history of doing that. But I convinced myself to be brave about this one because the opportunity to do my best painting, that's something I want to take advantage of. And, if you don't push yourself to get out of your comfort zone as an artist, and maybe in life in general too, but certainly as an artist, if you don't, then, it's going to be harder to grow and harder to learn. So anyways, I did move forward and I'm glad I did. So now the background. I want to talk a little about the background here too. So if you see my videos, I love dark backgrounds. I like nature backgrounds too, but I do a ton of dark backgrounds. I don't know, I just really like them. And I think the big thing that I like about them is the way they blend into the subject. They give you these soft edges behind the subject's head and give you this really wonderful blending that is unique to Alla Prima painting. So that blending, that Alla Prima, wet on wet direct painting, that's what allows you to do that nice blend. If I waited till this dried, I wouldn't get the soft edges there, or at least I would have to do the hair more, like I would have to go over things more. So it's nice in that way. So this is another break point of something that I wanted to mention. So those jars behind the subject. I was a little nervous to do this as well because inanimate objects are not a strong point for me. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but I knew that Impressionism could help me here. I knew doing blocks of colors and trying to simulate 3D depth in that way by just blocking in like brighter versions of this color mix and darker versions and adding some accent colors. I knew that Impressionist style could help me with this. Being worried or not able to render a jar in explicit detail, I certainly could still stand to practice those things, but I knew that I could give, quote unquote, the impression of that 3D shape, that cylinder, just focusing on the way the light is and the way those colors look for depth. Similar to the conversation about the shoulder. I feel like those concepts, the shoulder and the jar, I would almost want to call this painting the shoulder and the jar because those are like keystones for me in terms of how this looks. So another thing, what is on this table? I guess it's just stuff, junk, odds and ends, but does your brain process discrete items? If this was real life and we were looking at this lady who's sitting by this table, is my brain going to process these discrete items of the scene of a cluttered desk, or am I looking at the person and focusing on the person and just, again, the impression of these little visual shapes and colors on the desk? So that's kind of like another key here is I'm just using some shapes and some colors to make this visually interesting and just give me the hint that there's stuff there. So that's another, Impressionism, of course, as I've said, I think I said already, is the perfect name for what this is. Another thing that I wanted to mention real fast before I get to the complete end, which I'm almost at the end, I had a lot of fun with the hair on this subject. Blonde hair is hard for me sometimes. I've read that trying to get a mauve color is good, like kind of a alizarin crimson and bluish, maybe ochre kind of, or maybe it's more like a sienna kind of mix, and then mixing it with white and it's almost like a purplish kind of white. And that can give you some shadowy parts of blonde hair. And it's something that I'm not very good at. I've tried to practice somewhat, and I had a lot of fun with it here, just kind of playing with different colors. I mean, it's the impression of blonde hair. I hate to keep laboring that pun, but I got to play with some fun accents of some kind of purple there, which was cool. So that's kind of all I have for this one. I hope that was a decent discussion or kind of overview of how Impressionism kind of meets with Alla Prima painting and freehand painting for me from my own personal experience. That's kind of how they merge and mash up. And I did really think that this painting in particular was a good example to talk about this topic. So it was fortunate that I just happened to do this painting right around when I had that request or suggestion for a video. So if anyone has any comments or questions, always love to chat. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I hope to see you for the next video.